Hello and welcome to this episode of Motivation Monday. I'm your host, Krisna from Social Change Coalition. We are a grassroots global justice project activating an agent of change mindset. I'm super excited today to have our beautiful special guest, Cyndy Fowler, who founded Coastal Catalyst. Cyndy, will you tell us a little bit about your organization? What do you guys do?
Well, it was something that just came to me, like I was inspired by a book called The Cultural Creatives, How 50 Million People Are Changing the World. And initially I thought I wanted to bring attention to the world of holistic healing. But when I read this book, I realized that really it was so much bigger than just that. What I began to visualize were three circles in a Venn diagram coming together that represented these entrepreneurs, people that were creating businesses not to make a lot of money. It wasn't driven by money. That's what an entrepreneur is about. And an entrepreneur cares more about expressing their passion and being of service to others. And so when I read this book and I thought about this resource guide I wanted to create, I imagined three circles: holistic, which is mind, body, spirit; creative, art, music, and creativity; and sustainable and resilient kinds of businesses that are concerned about the environment and the health of people and what we're doing to planet Earth and the things we should be doing and changing about the way we live. So it's a whole transformation of life, which I believe that these three circles are doing. And I wanted to bring these entrepreneurs into the top of people's minds.
In the month of May, we are focusing on BodyMind Wellness. Reason is because oftentimes in our evolved human selves, we focus a lot on our brain, our cognitive mind, our capacity to think and to plan, all great stuff that we have as our evolved humans. But in the process, when not looking at it from a holistic perspective, we forget the body. And our body is our number one indicator on whether we're well or not. Not necessarily our thoughts. Our thoughts are secondary, but our body is really our very first inclination of that. So today our Motivation Monday episode is going to be talking and exploring that a little bit so that we are ensuring that we are combating compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue, I talked about it in a previous Motivation Monday episode. Take a peek at that because I offer some explanation on what that actually looks like and feels like. So welcome, Cyndy, today.
Hey. And you know, when you said that, I'm thinking, compassion for yourself, that takes into fact self-care. So you can have compassion for others, but it starts with yourself. Sure. And if you yourself have compassion for yourself, you'll take the time to meditate, relax, find your center so that you can be of help to other people.
Sure, that's
right?
so very important.
I think a lot of nurses have trouble with that. They're
Yes.
helping people all day long, and then they forget about their own selves, and then their health goes down. So I think that's one of the problems you're thinking about, right?
Yeah, for sure. And what sparked this space and wanting to do it on Monday specifically is because those that are working in some type of helping profession, or whether or not it's even a job, but it's just something that you do in your life, you're a caretaker, you're a parent, also mimics a lot of the things that happen when you might embody an activist. So somebody who is constantly engaged in the idea of equity and justice. So thinking about our wellness is so crucial to ensuring that we can continue to give of ourselves, because if our needs aren't met, right, if our cup isn't full, then how can we give anything to others? Oftentimes we do, though.
Yeah.
And then our cup gets depleted.
Yes.
And then we wonder why we're having all these ailments, not just feelings of depression and all these other things that are often considered really connected to our psychology, but a lot to do with our body. Sometimes people wonder, like, oh my gosh, I can't eat, my stomach's upset all the time, and not realizing that it's not necessarily just a digestive issue, it's the full wellness. And it could be connected to our levels of stress and other kinds of things, because we're one whole being, we're not just our mind or just our body or just our spirit, we are one full being. So I love the holistic element of the work that you do.
What do you do to when you get yourself run down? What are the things you do
that's
to
such
make
a good
yourself
question. See, Cindy's here to make me participate.
Absolutely.
That's such a good
Well,
question.
I bet you have some good hints for people.
Oh, thank
Things
you so
do.
much. I think that's such a great question. This Motivation Monday, we are again at Bluff Park, and I moved to Long Beach around 3.5 years ago, and I came here because I realized as I started meditating more and being really in tune with myself and my needs, being in tune with that intuitive kind of compass, it told me that my wellness was very connected to the ocean. I grew up in the Central Valley of California. There are no oceans in sight. So I do remember, having trips to the ocean and the excitement. And it wasn't just the trip, it was being by the ocean. I realized more and more that my sanctuary is the beach, and it's the ocean waves, it's the sound, it's all of that. And the most powerful meditative experiences I've ever had has been by the ocean side.
Yeah.
So that's my very first thing. If I feel super stressed, I'm very lucky now because I can just pop over to the beach and spend a little bit of time in the sand and feel the sand between my toes and
Very
listen
important.
to the wind and the ocean. So that's what I do.
Mother Nature. I go to, there's a place that's a bird sanctuary called Bolsa
Oh,
Chica.
that's wonderful.
And
Yeah,
I don't get my feet in the sand there so much. It's more of a walk, and just all the birds that you see there.
Beautiful.
Giant blue herons, snowy egrets, just certain kinds of birds you see there a lot, and some geese and ducks, and I just get totally energized. And it's something I never really thought about. My father loved ducks, and when I was a kid we had some cats, but we always had multiple ducks in our backyard. And now all of a sudden I'm realizing I have this connection to birds too that I never even really realized I had. But I go there when I feel what I call off center, and find my center there, and just by sitting there and watching them, and actually I feel I communicate with them and they communicate back. And there's a joy to that I think that when we don't go outdoors, I think we miss. I think Mother Nature is really where we can refuel ourselves and take advantage of that, with an ocean or without an ocean.
Yeah.
Find Mother Nature
Find
wherever
it
you
wherever
are.
it's at. There's a linking element from last month's Motivation Monday. We were focusing on environmental justice to this month. So, things to think about. We think about our wellness. So I'm curious, when you think about mind, body, spirit, wellness, kind of what does that encompass, or what does that mean for you?
I've been a political activist in my life, that when you have an activist spirit, you're really caring about multiple people and making huge movement that makes a change and things get better.
Yeah.
And you're really focused on the collective, and that is true of the sustainable world. But when it comes to holistic practitioners, where they're talking about self-care, it takes it down to just taking care of yourself. And I think there's sometimes some tension between people that are involved in sustainability and changing, like getting off gas and oil, and they feel that it needs to be a collective change. Not like, what do I care if this woman over here gets centered? That's
Sure.
not important. It's just one
Who cares
woman.
if she's meditating over there? Pick up the trash.
What I care about is our earth is dying, and we've got to do something. And neither way is wrong. There is a synergy between those, because I think it does start with yourself, because even when you're on an airplane, they say put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help your children. And that's so true. So I think it's a movement where you start with yourself, get yourself in alignment, get yourself healthy, and then you can go off and help people collectively change and transform the bigger community. But if you're not well yourself and you're not feeling centered, you won't be as effective.
Exactly.
So I think they work hand in hand, and I don't really see the tension, but I'm working through that with these groups, because they go, I'm not sure I like holistic people. All they care about is women doing yoga. Like, that's not important. The world is dying. Don't you understand? Right?
That is so funny. But I so love what you're saying, because part of the agent of change mindset within the project, the very first step is compassion for self and others. Self is first, not others and self. It's self and others. Because exactly what you're saying, if our cup isn't full, how in the world can we give to others? We can, but then we are like on empty mode. If we want to create change, the best way to do that is in a collective. But what we have to do. We have to take care of ourselves first. So it's not this or that. It's this and that. It is all.
And I see it happening. I think there's a new day dawning. I believe in this idea of ascension. I think we are, as a species, becoming more aware of this higher level, and I think we're getting there. I mean, as dark as the day sometimes can be, if you watch the news, you gotta know that there is another element going on. I feel it all around us, which gives me hope. And
I do. And you know, the younger generations are super inspiring to me because I see them just standing so strong and like, no, you know, like, this is important to me, you know. That's so inspiring. How do you know what mind, body, spirit wellness is for you? Are there some signs that you experience, or maybe that you've heard from others?
I think, and I've been reading a lot and listening to a lot of different thoughts on this, but we are vibrational in our nature. It isn't just words and mind, you know? We do live in that mind, thinking and logic and all of that is not, there's a value to that, and yet there's a higher level. And I think that if you can key into your emotions, am I feeling happy, sad, tired, depressed, you know, what am I feeling right now? Understanding your feelings is it's like your temperature gauge, if you will, or is my gas tank full or empty? I think that the emotions are really the key to your vibration, and as you watch your own emotions, it tells you, I need to go to Bolsa Chica and have a little moment with my birds. And find my joy, because I do believe we are here to express joy. I do sound so simple and like, well, how could it be so simple that we're here to express joy and express our passion? I do believe that is why we're here. I think if you do some of the simple steps and key into your emotions, I think life can be beautiful and wonderful.
It's so beautifully said, because you know, that accessing to our emotions, if you're a person that really is into, you know, Western science, then you would like this factoid that I'm about to share. Tapping into our most intuitive core emotions gets to the very core part of our brain, the primal part of our brain that is, you know, formed the earliest parts of our life in utero. And so tapping into those emotions really gets to the core of our self as a human. And then we talk about all these beautiful elements that you just mentioned with us as a level of vibration, and we're a frequency on this planet, each one of us, and we have different frequencies, and we come near each other and we affect one another, and then we pull away, and then and then it happens on such a large scale. And so we can then perhaps have compassion for those that are having a really tough time with figuring out what is their wellness. What does body wellness mean? What does mind wellness mean? What does spiritual wellness mean? What does that look like in my life? How do I know that I'm well? How do I know that I'm unwell?
You can look at people who get sick. I mean, the word disease is dis-ease, a lack of ease. And so I would say to someone who says, I don't have time because I have to go to work, you know, you don't have time not to take care of yourself. You know, some people need people to help give them
support
therapy.
Systems are so important. You know, sometimes it might look like a formal type of relationship, like a therapy session. It might look more informal, like having a barbecue with your best homies or something like that. It could look different for all folks, but for sure, getting in touch with our emotions and just knowing that we're not on this planet to make money. We're not on this planet to buy a house. The hope of Social Change Coalition is to begin to rethink about what are our norms. Are they really good for us? The ones that we currently prescribe to, whether we chose to or whether it was an unconscious choice. I'll be very provocative to say it's done with intention. We are exposed to propaganda with intention and inform a value system that we have to work so many hours in order to buy this thing that is really important to us. That is information that we're consuming, and when it sets into our heart space as a value, and then it just consumes our whole idea of what our purpose is on this planet. And so I could then see, with that being a norm for so many of us, I participated for a very long time, that could be a really core element to what is affecting our inability to focus on our wellness, because our body temple, it is the most important component to this life.
Yeah.
So important.
It starts with how you feel. How do you feel? Because that's, we're here to feel good and to be happy. And if that's not true, then really, time to shift.
So that's a good shift for us.
Transformation. I mean, that's what we're in the middle of, and that I feel that having a platform for these businesses and nonprofits and the conscious consumers to come together, it will help the change even more viable and speed it up. Speed up the change.
Yeah.
Because I think right now a lot of people think they're the only ones, and by bringing people together, they know that there's lots of people that are all driving the same way. So let's get together.
Yes, let's get together.
Collective impact.
And feel all right. That's so beautiful, because this idea of collective impact, not only does it support the world of an activist or activism, but it also supports this idea of wellness, body-mind wellness, or mind-body-spirit wellness, because it addresses the number one reason for dis-ease, lack of ease, is feeling disconnected. As a human species, it is an instinctual need for us, survival, to be connected, to be included, to feel a sense of belonging. Without a sense of belonging, there are a lot of dis-ease that exists, and then we see it manifested in lots of other ways. So what is so beautiful about the collective that you've been able to create with Coastal Catalyst is an opportunity for folks to begin to think about how we might connect with one another. Lots of different ways to think about wellness from that perspective. I so appreciate what you mentioned about nature, because I think
To me,
at the
that's key.
core, it really is that. If you can get out and spend some time in nature and be a little bit more in tune. That's why I love the work that you're doing, because it's not only talking about wellness, but talking about how we can be creative, and then how can we engage with society in other ways by being a conscious consumer and thinking thoughtfully around, where is my food coming from? Who's making the clothes I'm wearing? Is it eco-friendly or not eco-friendly? And all those things are components of our body-mind wellness. So all the things we consume affect our wellness. So what we consume, what we eat, consume with what we see, consume with how we interact with other folks in our environment. All those are components of our wellness. So thinking about how we consume things and how that affects our wellness is a crucial, important key. And I will say that as I've turned vegan and chosen to meditate, I know I'm a hippie, I admit it. But those things have really truly helped me have more clarity about what is going on here and how do I access wellness. So I'm able to energetically, but with vibration and frequency, all the things you just mentioned earlier, are really important to be mindful of. My advice for this Motivation Monday, we want to participate in giving of ourselves to other people, regardless of the capacity, whether it's for the realm of equity and justice for all, or whether it's just equity and justice for your family or for yourself. In whatever capacity, what is wellness for you? What does that mean? Where do you feel it? Where do you sense it? How do you know you're well? How do you know you're not well? And begin to be in tune with that more. And then maybe take some of the pieces of advice that we have. Go out in nature. Take a walk at a sanctuary. They're beautiful. Or any other nature space. And if you are a personality that gets really fueled by the energies of other folks, spend some time with your social support systems. Allow that to give you some insights. Or if you're like me, you tend to be a little bit more introverted and you need to close your door and get some private time, then do that.
Yeah.
Know what works for you, and that's the other thing. You have to take time to get to know yourself, to know what works for you and doesn't work for you.
That's one of the most important things. Yeah, know yourself. Know yourself, exactly.
And to know yourself doesn't mean that you have to have so many years of experience. That gives a lot of insight. But this is also something that children very young are very honest with you about. It's the socialization that begins to kind of create filters, and they're less able to be in tune. So if we foster this in the youth that we are able to mentor at whatever capacity, parent, non-parent, then we are giving our young folks, our young people on this planet, an opportunity opportunity to remain in tune, not become in tune, but remain in tune with their body rhythms and what their body is needing and what it's saying, not what their mind is focusing on. Because youth can teach the older generations a lot, just like the older generations can teach. We all share in the teaching and sharing. So we need to honor youth in that way, and so that they can speak their truth or access their truth by taking action to take care of himself. And wellness is really, really important.
I think Marianne Williamson talks about how little this current society is investing in children, and more needs to be done there, because that's our future. Our hope is the children. So hopefully we'll start to do that soon, very soon.
And the more that we set intention that our wellness is the wellness of ourself first and then the wellness of others, we begin to collaborate in that way. We begin to be more collective in that way. And so the collective impact is not just for the collective, but for the individual. It's like all part of one system. And we're able to think about that from not just a singular perspective, but from a larger perspective. Because wellness for one person is wellness for all if we begin to do that in ripples. And our BodyMind Wellness can just be expanded so much more. And all the things you mentioned about from a spiritual perspective and ascension and our consciousness as a human species is such a fascinating thing. That's a whole nother video because it's such a fascinating topic. But to think about it from this multi-layered element of wellness is so extremely important, and something that we have to keep talking about for sure. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, thank you
for folks?
Thank you for having me be part of your amazing organization, and I look
Yes.
forward to collaborating in the future in more in different ways.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining me for this episode of Motivation Monday. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop a comment below on what types of topics would you like us to cover in the future months. Get out in nature. Take care. Hi, doggy. No problem. Probably smells my doggies. You're distracted. You're distracted. Get your ball. No problem.
Don't tell me. Can we edit this out?
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna edit. There'll be edits.